Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
It's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about some Eagles go to the White House. Community College of Philadelphia officials ask city council for more money. Meanwhile, its ousted president files a lawsuit. And a Philly judge could be in hot water because of his wife's cheesesteak business. It's Friday, May 2nd. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Fiddler Club is CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Trinae.
All right.
Yeah.
Eagles went to the White House on Monday. Mm-hmm. It made headlines, especially who went and who skipped this meeting with President Trump.
Right.
Who skipped? Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Darius Slay. Slay said he had to be with his kids.
Yeah, he's like, I got stuff to do. I related to that.
The White House said that some of the missing Eagles had scheduling conflicts.
Yeah, that's how they kind of explained it away. Nothing to see here, no big deal. But, you know.
Obviously, people were talking about Saquon Barkley because there were photos and videos of him playing golf with the president.
Mm-hmm. This is the day before the whole White House celebration with the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm. Here's what he wrote on X. LOL, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew out to the White House with the president. Maybe I just respect the office, not a hard concept to understand, just golfed with Obama not too long ago, and look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now, yeah, get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day.
For some people, though, it's not politics. It's, you know, what they see as life and death and the future of democracy and the future of this country. So this is obviously a different kind of president. So this is why many of Saquon's teammates skipped it. They didn't go. And you know, I hate that we're talking about this, but this was what Philadelphia was talking about. It was what...
For months now.
Yeah.
Right?
People have been wondering, were they going to get the invite? If they got the invite, would they go? Once it was the team officially agreed to go, who would show up? Mm-hmm. So it crosses, you know, culture and politics, obviously, and a lot of big issues that people feel incredibly passionate about and are incredibly, you know, worried about. But as a result of this whole conversation, it creates divisiveness, right? I mean, and divisiveness is politically beneficial to Trump and really no one else. He's able to, you know, kind of dismiss anybody who doesn't show up as, you know, or his supporters are, as people who don't respect the country or don't respect the office. But, you know, this is America. This is the NFL. This is the way our politics work. This is the reality of the conversation that people were having this week. I thought the most compelling take came from former Eagle Malcolm Jenkins. He's one of the most politically active players that we've had in this city in some time. He's a champion for civil rights. He skipped the 2018 invitation from Trump to go to the White House. He said he wouldn't go. This was after the last Super Bowl win. And then because so many players joined him and weren't going to go, Trump just rescinded the invitation that time. So they didn't actually show up last time. So he wrote on his Substack this week, Jenkins wrote, by choosing not to go, Jalen Hurts didn't just make a personal decision, he made a public one. And with that decision comes a whole new set of challenges: media scrutiny, locker room dynamics, cultural responsibility. Jenkins wrote that Jalen Hurts' silence, his words, his posture, all of it will matter to the people watching who are looking for signs of courage, authenticity, and leadership, and none of it will be easy. And I do think this story is really about Jalen more than anybody else. I mean, he is the leader of this team. He's going to be here for quite some time. He was the first one that observers noticed didn't show up.
And even in a recent interview he did, he was silent,
Right.
like
When
Malcolm
asked if he
Jenkins
was
is
gonna
saying.
go.
Yeah. And he kind of gave the look like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, why did you even ask me that?
Right. So, this continues though for him, right? Because as Jenkins said, he's got to navigate maybe some tension in the locker room over this. There's clearly MAGA Trump supporters in that locker room. And will they have any sort of feelings about the leader of their team skipping this event? But Jenkins said if Hurts can navigate this, then he, quote, solidifies himself as a selfless leader, strengthens his integrity and cultural capital in a way few athletes ever achieve, and he shows the next generation what it looks like to stand on principle, not just play for applause. He joins a tradition of athletes who used their peak to push conversations forward, not shy away from them, not because he was loud, not because he was divisive, but because he was clear. Now, as you said, Jalen was mostly silent. I don't know if he's really been clear publicly. It wasn't like he said, I'm not going because I don't like that Trump is deporting Philadelphians and
Right, but
raising
then,
prices on Philadelphians.
Yeah, but then
through
there's
tariffs.
like a way to communicate without communicating, right?
Yes. That's what Jenkins said. This is the final quote from him. And even silence becomes a statement, Jenkins says. Jalen's decision stands in opposition to a culture that often asks players to just shut up and play. Instead, he's choosing to lead, and not just with his arm, but with his mind, his values, and his presence. It's a risk, but it's also an opportunity to become something much bigger than a champion. It's the first step forward toward becoming an icon who matters, not just because of what he won, but because of what he stood for when it counted.
I feel like, obviously this is not the first time sports and politics are meeting or intersecting.
Not the last time either.
And not the last time. I mean, think about just like the evolution of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of having even a black quarterback
Right.
and the significance of that, right? The evolution from, seeing messages like end racism in the end zone.
And then taken out of the end zone.
Or like even having players promote the foundations and nonprofits that are meaningful to them on their cleats.
For sure.
And cleats also mattered. Remember, Jalen Hurts couldn't wear mismatched color cleats. Like, everything is so scrutinized for these, I'm going to say, men, because often, like to Malcolm Jenkins' point, people forget that, these guys are not just props for entertainment. They are living, breathing individuals that have personalities and families and lives outside of the stadiums that they play in. And so I really think that these conversations, even about military service, about racial disparities in America, I think that we have just seen them come up because before these conversations were hidden.
Yeah.
And now we can have more dialogue, but the dialogue does get tricky. People are going to have their opinions. And even when your favorite player doesn't have the same politics as you,
Right.
that's kind of coming out of this. Now, also what was interesting is that as this also was going on, as this meeting was happening, the White House had these large posters of undocumented immigrants who had been arrested for crimes lined up on the White House lawn.
Yeah, so they had to pass these lines of pictures of undocumented immigrants, including a woman from Philadelphia. I mean...
And that's what people are like, okay, well, are y'all ignoring this?
Right. Like, it's not just about honoring the office. There's so much else swirling around that you can physically see. I mean, right after the ceremony, he signed an executive order directing the Attorney General's office to publish a list of sanctuary cities, which would include, it hasn't been published yet, but it would include Philadelphia. I mean, the cover of the Inquirer here, this is Tuesday. The picture, top of the fold, is Trump with the team. You see Howie Roseman there, Nick Sirianni, Lane Johnson.
Big Dom.
Right, Big Dom. And then next to the picture is the other big story of the day. Trump targets sanctuary cities. And there's tens of thousands of undocumented immigrants in Philadelphia that have been protected to some degree by Philadelphia policies. created by officials elected by Philadelphians. And Trump is wanting to push against what would be the will of the citizens of Philadelphia. And that's such a potent split screen here. You have Trump targeting Philly and yet honoring our favorite Philadelphians at the same time. So it would seem to be, if this is a team that represents Philly, then, maybe you don't go. But it's also not representing Philly in all of its politics and civic values. They are fundamentally just athletes. But obviously in this town and in the country, NFL players are so much more. So
but
really,
here's the thing, too. Like, we don't know what Saquon and Trump talked about. Who knows? Maybe Saquon asked some questions. We don't know.
Lobbied on behalf of some.
I don't know. I don't know. So, and
guess that's true.
That is also another reality that sometimes gets missed in this. We have no idea what these personal conversations are.
I guess, though his tweet would not indicate that he talked politics.
Right.
Now you get out my mentions with all this politics.
Yeah.
But maybe. Yeah. Part of me was like, well, maybe they don't really pay attention to politics.
Oh, come
right?
on.
But how do you not in this environment know what's going on with the president?
Yeah, exactly. Or even understand what's going on in these streets. You know what's going on. All right. We've got more news after the break. Ready to win Mother's Day and cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life an Aura digital picture frame that comes preloaded with years of family photos. Save the wrapping paper. Every frame is packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. Aura frames can play your live iPhone photos and videos up to 30 seconds right on the frame. The embedded speaker plays audio on demand. The interactive touch bar allows you to change photos, view details, like photos, with a simple tap or swipe on the edge of the Aura frame. Aura has a great deal for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's auraframes.com. Promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, CityCast. Something I appreciate about the Cozy Earth Mother's Day sale is that they know motherhood looks different on everyone. So whether you're raising kids, dogs, or cane, all moms work hard and they deserve comfort. So let me tell you about these Cozy Earth sheets. They feel like cool water in a sort of, is this the Ritz-Carlton or my own bedroom kind of way. The pajamas are what I imagine celebrity moms sleep in, buttery soft. You're looking for the right gift because the women who raised you feel like home, and they are going to love Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas, and I know this because it's 3:24 p.m. and I'm still wearing mine. To celebrate moms everywhere, Cozy Earth is supporting your favorite local podcast and giving our listeners a special promo. 45% off site-wide. This is a luxury brand, and that is a mind-blowing deal. Use Cozy Philly to take advantage of 45% off at CozyEarth.com.
All right, let's roll into this next story.
Yeah, you know what else happened in Washington this week that I think is actually more important, but got a lot less attention? Our new Republican Pennsylvania Senator, Dave McCormick, who is very, very rich, he just invested as much as $1.1 million in Bitcoin. This is according to recent financial disclosures. And, good for him, right? Bitcoin's hot. Get on the Bitcoin train, especially if the traditional economy is tanking. However, McCormick is literally a member of the Senate Banking Committee subcommittee that deals with Bitcoin. He's one of the few federally elected people who is responsible for regulating and monitoring what's happening with Bitcoin.
Okay, so can you break down kind of why this would be a big deal?
Well, the committee that he's on is currently considering a bill that would create what's called a strategic Bitcoin reserve backed by the U.S. Treasury, backed by American dollars, our dollars. And this is a bill that Bitcoin traders, people in the Bitcoin industry, really want passed because theoretically it'd be good and make them a lot of money. So he is essentially on the committee that is considering a bill that would be very good for people who have Bitcoin, including himself. And the Inquirer spoke to Jordan Leibowitz from the good government watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. And Leibowitz said, you never want to be in a position where you're questioning whether your senators are acting in the best interest of their constituents or their own bank account. And McCormick is now in a unique position to help his own personal interests.
Okay, so what did McCormick say about this?
A spokesperson said that McCormick's investments are consistent with Senate ethics rules and financial disclosure requirements. And that very well may be true. But the fact of the matter is there just aren't a lot of ethics rules around our federal lawmakers, especially when it comes to how they make money on the side. Meanwhile, can I bring it back to Philly?
There's always a Philly angle in here.
Meanwhile, in Philly, another public official is in hot water for making some money on the side. So
Doing what?
making cheesesteaks.
Cheesesteaks?
So Court of Common Pleas Judge Scott DeClaudio's wife owns Shays, relatively new cheesesteak spot in Center City. And he is now accused by the Pennsylvania Judicial Conduct Board of mixing whiz with his judicial duties. See what I did there, Janae?
Mm-hmm. I like it.
The complaint says that Judge DeClaudio took a customer at Shays to court to observe the proceedings, that he hung articles about his judicial job at Shays on the walls there, that he worked at the shop during court hours. What? And I love this. He argued with negative online reviewers during court hours.
No.
So he's like in trouble. This complaint said he abused the privilege of the judicial office for personal gain. And this is the second time he's been accused of misconduct. And he could be suspended and lose pay because of this whole thing. So very much different from Senator McCormick, who appears to be in no trouble whatsoever. And McCormick clearly has a lot more money at play here than Judge DeClaudio in the cheesesteak business. So DeClaudio said, I would submit that of the thousands of patrons who have visited Shays, nary a one went there because they hoped a judge would make them a sandwich. I'd imagine that most people paying for food would want a trained professional or chef to make their meals. So he's saying he wasn't really involved there. But, you know, I would just note that a U.S. senator making millions of dollars in Bitcoin while supposedly regulating Bitcoin is a lot bigger of a deal than a judge making cheesesteak money.
Everyone's getting into the cheesesteak business these days.
I will say Shays is very good.
Oh, you had it?
It's actually
Okay.
pretty unique of a place. It's also the most expensive cheesesteak
In the
shop
city?
that I've ever been to. You can get a filet mignon steak there for $30.
Yeah, but
It's filet mignon, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's an expensive cheesesteak.
Yeah.
They have an American Wagyu steak for $35. So that's, you know.
it's more than most traditional
Sure.
cheesesteaks.
Right. What do you think? Right now they're at like probably $15?
No, like 17.
17? Okay. That was
17
$2
to 20.
difference. I wasn't that
Yeah,
off.
I'm
You're like, no, what are you talking about?
$17.
Are you even from this town? I'm like, yeah, I was close enough. Yeah, so I don't know. Try Shays. The judge might be there because he might be unemployed soon enough, but it is pretty pricey. And, you know, the irony of this guy getting in trouble and
So
other
what
people not.
could happen? He gets
He
told
can get
to
suspended
Okay.
and lose pay.
Okay.
He says he's not going to run again after his term is up in 2026. So might be on his way out anyway.
All right. Well, we'll be back with more news after this break.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
Okay, this week on Tuesday, Harold Epps, who is the chair at Community College of Philadelphia's Board of Trustees, testified at a budget hearing at City Council. He was also joined by some other officials. One, the newly promoted interim president of the college, Provost and Vice President Alicia Marshall. They were asking for an additional $8 million to, as they say, maintain certain thresholds that keep their accreditation and avoid tuition increases. But this all comes as the board abruptly placed its former president, Donald Guy Generals, on administrative leave. He had served in this role for over a decade, about 11 years, and this week Generals filed a lawsuit alleging that he was pressured to, quote, direct CCP business to political allies and vendors with personal ties to the chair. In a statement, this was reported by the Inquirer, the board said the allegations were frivolous and without merit, and the board intends to vigorously defend against them.
Messy.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to this hearing on Tuesday because City Council member Cindy Bass had this to say.
I think that's sort of like the elephant in the room, I'll say, because the CCP looks like it's doing really well based on everything that's presented today. So I think a lot of us are confused as to the change in leadership, the recent change in leadership, and we're hoping that you can give some sort of explanation that makes sense because, someone did call me yesterday and tried to explain it. It didn't make any sort of sense that I could, figure out, no common sense, but I just didn't seem to really have an understanding as to, what happened to the last president.
So really not a lot of answers from the board about why Generals was ousted, or really no answers, being very cagey, and we don't really know why this happened. And in this interview that you did with Generals, which we're going to air on Monday, he didn't really get into what happened, but tell me about that.
Yeah, well, you're right. And what's interesting is that both sides list the accomplishments that have happened under Generals.
Yeah, everything seems like it's going great over there.
Right.
So what's the problem?
Don't know.
We might have to wait to find out in court.
Also, graduation is this Saturday. Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor Austin Davis is scheduled to be the keynote speaker.
Congratulations to the graduates.
Yes. All right. There's a lot of other news. And folks that are listening, y'all can check out the Hey Philly newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Also, check out Trinae's interview with DA Larry Krasner, who's up for re-election in the May 20th Democratic primary. That interview aired on Wednesday for our weekly Wednesday politics show, and we're going to have an interview next Wednesday that will air with his challenger, Pat Dugan. Really interesting stuff from both of them in terms of their perspective on crime in the city and whether crime is up or down and how people are feeling about it, and also how they feel about each other. These guys do not really like each other too much. That was what came out of both those interviews,
Yeah.
So check out those interviews.
Matt.
Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend?
So I'm going out of town with my daughter.
Cute.
But I think I'm leaving you guys with some wet weather here. It looks like it's going to rain. I mean, can I just gripe for a second about our weather situation? We had 1 day of spring this past week where it felt like spring, and then all of a sudden it was hot.
It was summer.
Today, it's going to be as high as 85.
Yeah.
And then this weekend, it's supposed to rain. And so I'm sick of the rain on the weekends and there not being, a good stretch of 72-degree days. That's what I'm looking for. 72 and sunny. I want 2.5 weeks of that before we get into the hot and humidness that is Philadelphia in the summer. Also, the rain on the weekends, man, it's killing my kids' Little League fields. A lot of canceled games, because sometimes even if it's not raining, if it had rained based on just the drainage on our Philadelphia fields, the water pools up in the outfield and you can't play. So hoping for a good weather weekend for Philadelphia. What are you up to?
I'm skipping town for a day. Gotta stretch my legs out. We've got some birthday celebrations, and I'll be catching up with friends. And yeah, that's my weekend plans. My kid's getting braces soon.
Oh, my daughter's about to get her braces off this summer.
Oh, okay.
But then you got the retainer thing.
Yeah, the retainers are, can't lose them.
I know. Otherwise,
because it's like all that money.
So much money.
Down the drain.
Oh my God. That's so much money.
Also, mark your calendars because on Saturday, May 10th, the whole CityCast Philly team will be at Cherry Street Pier, Art Star Craft Bazaar.
Me, Trinae, Siani, Abby. We're all going to be there. And the craft fair goes on May 10th and 11th. We'll be there on the 10th. There'll be a lot of vendors to buy some, perhaps, Mother's Day presents. Trinae needs a Mother's Day present.
I do.
And we'll have a table out there, and we'll have some swag to give out, and we'd love to talk to you about life in Philly. So come on by, Cherry Street Pier.
All right, Matt. Thanks for chatting with me on another week of Friday News Roundup.
Thanks, Trinae. Go Birds.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producers are Abby Fritz and Selena Say Reynolds. Our Hey Philly newsletter editors this week are Siani Colon and Natalia Aldana. And our host is me, Trinae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos. If y'all enjoyed this week of episodes, drop a link in the group chat. Also, rate the show. Leave us a review because it helps us out. And subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, so you are connected. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. And if you're running the Broad Street Run, I'm rooting for you. Bye.